Hey guys, welcome back. It's Marty Z. Another week, another talk. So I do apologize for last week. I was unable to do a talk because I ended up having to get ready for DMing the next night, and I didn't get much prep work done, so I spent all of Tuesday doing that instead of recording. So I do apologize. It's funny, I did try to do some recording later in the week. I believe it was Thursday I was recording, and I had to wait until later in the evening because construction near me, and it ended up that, after an hour of talking to myself, the recording didn't work. So at that point I was just like, if I do it Friday, it comes out Saturday. At that point I would only have a couple days, so you know what, I'm just gonna wait until this Tuesday to do the recording, 11/8. So this will come up on Wednesday. But yeah, I just felt like I wouldn't have enough to say, but like a couple days. I already have, hard time trying to keep up with all my ambitious stuff now. So that's what happened. I apologize, but this week we're gonna have a good time. So we're gonna be talking about, first off, the Batman Rebirth. We're going to be talking about the first big arc, which is the Night of the Monster Men. And I'm excited to talk about it. It's the first big arc of Batman, so in Rebirth. So we're going to have fun with that. After that, we're going to talk a little bit about Storm King's Thunder and my impressions of being the Dungeon Master for that. I finally got to read the book from a DM's perspective and get to learn a little bit about that. And lastly, we'll do a little bit of talking with Jessica Jones and just my current impressions after the last couple of episodes. So I guess first off, you'll see I'm in Minecraft. The reason for that is that I have had a lot of failure when it comes to Borderlands. I really want to finish that because I was really enjoying it, but that was the game I was recording and it just ended up not recording, and that's not the first time, and it's just been kind of a pain. So we will be doing Minecraft this week. Hopefully next week I'll either be able to get Borderlands working or we'll just find another game. But we're back inside the tree working on that, so yay! Alright, let's actually start with the talk, though. So first off, we got Batman and the Night of the Monster Men. So my first thing that I have to say about this was I didn't really care for it being across multiple titles. I feel that that's, I don't know, a little, it just seemed useless to me. Like, there wasn't much shift in which character was being emphasized. Because it's in Batman, Nightwing, and Detective Comics, and it's the same story going throughout it, which is good. I'm glad it didn't feel like, now I have to catch up on Nightwing to get his part, and now I have to catch up on Detective Comics to get that? I don't know. But it just seemed unnecessary, and it kind of seems like one of those factors that, made me first not really get into comics, is because, like, if you haven't started on ground zero, like trying to read everything, I don't know, I thought it felt a little, it can get intimidating to try, like, because it just feels like you have to do so much and that they keep crisscrossing, so you have to keep updated with all of these different things. And now I guess if they were like this, I guess it's not a big deal. You just have to get Nightwing one time to read that arc and you wouldn't feel any difference, but still it felt unnecessary. But overall, I really enjoyed the Night of the Monster Men. I don't think it's anything like The Killer Joke, of course, but that's like the best of the best story writing for Batman, so you can't expect that. But this one was a good start in the Rebirth arc to me. We even start with a character that I really like, which is Hugo Strange. I always enjoy having him face off against Batman because the way he does things are just so different. He really makes Batman like have to, I guess it's like the chess player Batman that I like to call it. He pulls out this his intelligence and really makes Hugo really makes Batman have to work for it. You don't know exactly what Hugo's trying to get at. Sometimes he's pulling strings, sometimes it just really depends, and it depends on the adaptation. But as of now, like, I've always enjoyed having Hugo Strange around, and this is no exception. So the general premise of the series was so there was Gotham and Gotham Girl, brother and sister, and they ended up getting attacked by Hugo Strange and his minion, Psycho Pirate, who can control people's emotions and basically made them go crazy. Gotham eventually died from his sister, and his sister just went nuts for a little bit. And then we find out Hugo Strange traded out Psycho Pirate to Bane for Venom. Why did he want Venom? We didn't know. But that's kind of where it starts off with. And then the first issue of the Monster Man is Batman and his allies having to deal with an evacuation of Gotham because there's a hurricane coming that would flood a lot of the areas. Which, as a side tidbit, Gotham floods. It's just a small thing, but I appreciate it. But writers have brought that up multiple times. And it's just one of those small consistency things that I can get behind. But anyways, so they're trying to do this, and suddenly these monsters come out of nowhere. And later you find out they came from these dead bodies of terrorists who were terrorizing the city. Kind of terrorists. They're like innocent people who, for some reason, were blowing up things and ended up dying. So these monsters are attacking the city. They're made from these dead bodies. It's like super stem cells that Hugo Strange somehow made. And they're not... These monsters aren't technically alive. Like, they're not a living, breathing creature. They're literally just cells being puppeteered by Hugo Strange to morph into what he wants and to attack what he wants. So Batman and Batwoman take the forefront of battling one of these creatures, having a hard time. Like, anything they do just does not seem to really keep the creatures down at all. And one thing... So the other allies that Batman has right now, you have Nightwing, Batwoman, Duke and Alfred, and Spoiler, Orphan, and Clayface. And some of the interesting ones to me was having Spoiler, someone who was important in a different arc that I knew called Hush, I believe. She's actually the daughter of... some C-list Batman villain called Clue Master. After that is Orphan, who I actually have no idea about her. I've never heard of her. Maybe it's someone I know. I just didn't know them by the name of Orphan, but no idea who that is. After that, I was really surprised that Clayface is now a good guy. Didn't know when that happened. I definitely missed out on some things, but I thought it was cool having him around. And definitely we'll have to investigate a little bit to see what that's about. And then, of course, Batwoman, like I said before. So Batwoman and Batman are in the main scruff of the things. And you notice that Nightwing keeps getting pushed aside. Clayface is just directing people in the form of many police officers. He can split himself up. Orphan, Spoiler are protecting people in the caves. And Duke and Alfred are in the Batcave. So one thing I quickly noticed was Batman was kind of pushing away a lot of people. And you find out that it's probably due to the fact that Red Robin actually died in the New 52 not too long ago. In a heroic way, in a great way, but he ended up dying, which I guess really got to Batman. So a big thing with Duke being in the Batcave, he's still new to Batman. So he's just like, oh no, he's not in the field yet. He's not ready yet. I need him to figure out the antidote, but he is not going to be out here. The other thing was he actually sent Nightwing away, which is really interesting because he didn't just send him away like get out of here. He was, hey, I need you to go investigate something for me. Which, if you didn't know, Dick Grayson is not known for being the best investigator out of the Robins. He was the best acrobat. And I mean, it's not that he can't do it, but it wasn't his strong suit like Batman or Tim Drake slash Red Robin. So I was just like, wait, what? That doesn't sound right. But yeah, like I said, you find out that he's kind of going, I can't lose anyone else, so I'm going to take the forefront of this. And one thing you do notice, so he puts all these allies that he helped train back, but the one he doesn't do is Batwoman. And the reason for that is because he didn't actually train her. She got training herself through the military and other things. So I feel like he doesn't, really feel responsible for her. And you kind of see a moment that kind of helps back this up a little bit. And it's Batwoman and Batman are fighting this monster. It's giving them hell. And anything they do doesn't seem to be doing much of anything. So what they needed was some mobility. So Batman, of course, has his gadgets lying around the city. Has some motorcycles. So they take them out for a spin. And lo and behold, one of them looks like something Nightwing might want to have. And so Batwoman comments, hey, you realize that Dick Grayson's not your partner anymore, right? He's not your sidekick, Bruce. And Batman's just like, I trained him. Therefore, I'm responsible for him. I'm responsible for them all. And, that's his feelings right now. He's just like, I'm in charge of all these people. But later on, you get Batwoman kind of be like, Bruce, you can't keep treating, you can't keep putting them on the benches. You need to trust them, respect them, or else this teamwork is not going to work. And Batman's just like, no, I'm responsible, blah, 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 blah. Which is not an uncommon thing to have happen. Batman does tend to do this. But the nice fresh thing about this, the thing that makes it different than some other times, is that you have Batwoman, an outsider to the Bat family, and you really feel that in Death of a Family or what was the other one? Death in a Family, Court of the Owls. You don't have her really being brought in as part of the Bat family. She's an ally. She calls herself a bat, but she wasn't trained by Bruce, and she just wasn't in the inner sanctum, the last time I was reading, which clearly has changed at this point, or something like that. But he's okay with her there because I feel like he doesn't feel as responsible for her as he does for someone like Dick Grayson, who's like a son to him, or spoiler, orphan, these kids he kind of helped out. So that was a nice, refreshing thing, seeing that conflict between him and Batwoman. And you also see it between Duke and Nightwing and Batman, where they're they're upset by this, and as they very well should be, because they want to be in the action, and he's keeping them out of it. So yeah, Batwoman. Another thing I really liked was getting some time with Spoiler. She's a character I didn't know too much before this. I just knew a little bit of her origin, how she came to be. But what I didn't know was what role she would play in the group. And it looks like she's a Brainiac, which isn't a surprise, kind of where she came from. Her dad was a Clue Master, which I guess kind of like the Riddler maybe. And so a lot of clues and figuring out stuff. So smart guy. And then she's a spoiler, spoiling his whatever. And so it just makes sense she's smart. But it's not just oh, I'm really smart. But during one of the fights, she ends up netting a bunch of the things attacking her because they're just civilians being possessed, essentially. And she takes time to think things through. And that's not the last time you'd see her doing that. But it was quite enjoyable just seeing her try and process this thing, going through her thought process, being like, hey, if this means this, then this, and then this is how we can solve our issue. So I really like that. Some things I didn't like. I didn't care for there was a lot of repetition with certain things that they kept trying to bring in. One was with Clayface, something that nothing seemed to come out of was he was complaining how being spread so thin was going to be hard on him, and that he couldn't keep it for long, and he just kept bringing it up, and then nothing. Nothing seemed to come out of it. I guess maybe it was to keep suspense, but I didn't like that. Like, I wanted something to come out of it. Like, you keep talking about it, but nothing happens. Okay. So that was one thing I didn't like. And there was also a lot of reminder that Red Robin's dead. Oh my god, if Red Robin was here, he could do this. And they weren't exactly phrased that way, but it did come up a lot. And it was another thing that it irks me, because I'm just like, okay, we get it. He's dead. And I guess for those, the reason for it being that way, it probably has something to do with if you read it week to week, you could forget, and it's probably not as noticeable or something along those lines. But I married them all together, so it ended up being very obvious, and just got old quick. But I mean, that's just a small thing. That's not like, oh my god, this is Rex because of this. It's just, why do you have to be remind me of this? I already know. Yeah, besides that, overall, really good. Can't emphasize enough, I like Hugo Strange. I love when he finally gets into it. So during most of the time, I don't think it's till the last issue that you finally see him, and what he's doing is just crazy. And then just all the reveals of like what the monsters were, like why these monsters from him, and all this other stuff. It was pretty cool. And then the way Batman defeats Hugo, it was just great Batman moment. Just one of those badass moments where Batman is just freaking awesome, and I kind of fanboyed a little bit, but I'm not ashamed. It was a good moment. It was so clever, and I just didn't see it coming. So yeah, that was the Night of the Monster Men. If you haven't picked it up, if you're a Batman person, definitely read it. I would read the issues leading up to it, because you'll need some background on Gotham and Gotham Girl. But besides that, you don't need too much Rampart. As far as I know, you don't need anything from the Nightwing series. It just was a title thing. Like I said, it just didn't seem to have a point to be in a different title that I know of. Then moving on, let's talk a little bit about Storm King's Thunder and DMing it. So, first off, I like to be prepared as a DM. I go through a lot of work making sure that when we finally play with my group, that I won't be the one slowing them down. It's all up to them. So I prepare many days out in the world, in the characters' days. I plan many days out for that. I make sure that any possibility of them doing something, I'm ready for it. Any creatures or characters I need stats for, they're ready for combat and all that. And so yeah, a lot of work, and that's why I miss out Tuesday, because he took up a good amount of my evening. And when I finally got there, I actually only ended up having 4 people. And I got really nervous because 2 of them just started the campaign not too long ago. So one's a 2nd level, and the other one's a 3rd level. And everyone else was 5th level at this point, and the encounters were kind of difficult. And I remember, not last week, but the week before, we had to just straight up run away in one of our counters. So I'm just like, okay. These encounters might kill one of these guys, especially because I only have 2 level 5s to like be in the way, deal the damage and all that. And one's a warlock, so that's gonna be a little hard. But fortunately, the other one was a paladin healer tank, so it didn't seem too bad. And it ended up being fine. It almost seemed a little too easy at times. They might beg to disagree, the lower level characters, but I think I could have put more fear of God in them, which is something I actually like doing. I like to have at least one encounter that puts the fear in them, makes it a little challenging for them, just so that they remember that their characters can die and the story doesn't care. But yeah, we had, like I said, small groups, so that was disappointing. I really wanted to do a larger group, but it happens. It was still fun. I still really got into it, which is something I didn't. I kind of forgot, but I really like DMing. I really get into trying to have as much fun, and I like describing the fights, what's happening, so that people know how injured people are getting. Well, they can assume how injured they are, and just kind of help the combat, still have some story to it, I guess. I don't know. You're having the players imagine the combat, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. So DMing was great. It was a good experience. I miss playing as a character. I really love playing as my sorcerer right now, but I did really enjoy. So I would definitely be up doing a little both. I don't really, it's like it's not even the grass is always greener. Both of them are fun for their separate reasons, and when I'm doing one, I miss the other, and vice versa, and all that. So that's something I have to deal with. But overall, Storm King's Thunder has been so much more fun to me than Curse of Strahd. That one, as a player, I was just like, I have no idea what I'm trying to do. And I ended up reading the book, and I'm just like, if I was DMing this, I had no idea what I'm supposed to do. It was just really open-ended, and I just didn't know what to do with that. Poisons. But Storm King's Thunder, from a player perspective, there was one moment I was just like, I'm not sure what to do, but then figured it out. And then for the rest of it, it seems pretty like, you just keep going this way, and this will lead to something. And it's not that it's too linear where you don't have any choice in the story. You still have a lot of choice in the story, but the story can go so many different ways that it still feels pretty open. And when I was reading Storm King's Thunder to prep it, I noticed they even have a little chart being like, this is, so you go chapter 1, chapter 2, split off in chapter 3, recombine in chapter 4, this and that, kind of giving a synopsis. So there's definitely Wizards did a good job showing that there's some control in how the story is supposed to go. Yet, as a player, it feels completely wide open, which is so important for Dungeons and Dragons, because I think one of the best things about it is that it can, as a player, you feel like you can do anything in there. If you do or don't, that's one thing, but just that feeling of so much freedom, it's just great, and that's what I like to see. And I feel like Strahd went a little too overboard. We always felt like we were under level and we are just going to the wrong place at the wrong time. But for this one, I haven't felt that way yet. And I'm just excited to just keep moving on with that story and where it takes me. So Storm King's Thunder, well organized, well done. I will say that if you are sort of new to Dungeons and Dragons, I don't know if I would. I do feel like Storm King's Thunder may not be for a whole novice group. It's definitely playable if you have people who do know stuff and people who don't know stuff. But if you're a complete new to D&D, maybe not for you. Yet. I would definitely say instead maybe start with Horror of the Dragon Queen, or there's a starter kit that a 5th edition starter kit that does, it's like Minds of Panvalar or something. I don't remember. I can't say anyways if I did remember. But that one was pretty good. And it's definitely good for a complete new group of people to 5th edition. But yeah, that was Dungeons and Dragons. I can't wait for this next week. Every week, I'm just always excited for Wednesday night Dungeon and Dragons. I guess the next thing is to do a little bit of talking about Jessica Jones. I got through a few more episodes since last time we talked. And I will say that I'm still really interested in it. I still think I like it better than Daredevil. It's just, I don't know what's happening, I guess. Like, I don't know where it's going. Not the fact that I don't understand. Oh, well, that crashed. Huh. Anyways, yeah, like, it's just a different story to me. So it's kind of exciting being like, I don't know what's gonna be going down. Oh, what just happened? Oh, it's trying to connect. So it's something I've been liking about it, and then I find out who the villain is. It's being portrayed by David Tennant, which I didn't know until the episode they do the reveal at the end. But I was just hearing his voice this whole time, being like, I feel like I know who that is. Who could that be? And then, oh my God, it's the Doctor. Doctor, what are you doing? These terrible things. So I was really excited to see that. I really like David Tennant as an actor. And there was just this one stare between him and Jessica Jones. And it was just, there just seemed to be a lot behind it. I can't quite convey exactly what I was getting from it. But I just know there was like a lot of emotion behind it and stuff. Oh, my internet's down. That would explain that. But there's just a lot of emotion behind it. And it was just great. And I'm just looking forward to that. I will say for Jessica Jones, I do know a little bit of it got spoiled by Luke Cage because I kind of got an idea of what's going to happen later. I don't know when or where or like the context of this situation, but I do know that, there is an ordering. It starts with Daredevil, goes into Jessica Jones, and then Luke Cage. So if you haven't done it yet, that's probably the order you should go. Though it wasn't, as far as I know, it was nothing major. So just something something I know that's going to happen down the road. I just don't know how. But yeah, still liking it. Still need to get through a little bit more. I've had some issues trying to get back into it because, I've been derailed a little bit. And I find it, a little challenging trying to marathon without Netflix because I don't have Netflix myself. I don't have an account or anything like that. So it's just a little bit harder. Oh, well, it looks like I can't connect here. So I'm just going to do some single player. I don't know what I was doing here. It's a completely new world. But like I was saying, a little harder to marathon without Netflix and stuff. I guess next week, so Monster Men is done. So I guess I'm going to try to get a little bit more into Flash. I know something interesting was happening there. They glimpsed just a tiny bit, just a hint that like, oh yeah, that Rebirth issue happened. But we're going to do something else. And it was really interesting because they brought in a friend and then an accident happens and we're going to be dealing with that. So that's probably something I'll be doing next week. A little bit more of Jessica Jones. And hopefully I can find a game to record that will actually record the whole time instead of cutting out partway through. So I'll try and find something like that. The big thing when it comes to finding games for me is just which companies are more lenient than others to just have someone like me put this on YouTube. And yeah, I have a couple ideas, but we'll just have to see about it when it gets there. So I guess we're getting to the end of this. So thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. If you ever have any ideas, please just comment and I will definitely consider them. If not, do it myself, barring, if it's feasible or anything like that. But you know what, guys? Have a great week. Can't wait to see you next week. Bye.